I'll sing some. If you say you be proud of your beginning, make you the shine your light. Just follow me, oh, follow me, oh, follow me, shine your light.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another I Am Cameroon show, bi-weekly show. Always a pleasure and delight to have you, and really thank you for joining us. My name is Ariel Benson, founder of I Am Cameroon. This movement, a movement that we started as far back as 2013, really has over the years taken different forms, embarked on numerous opportunities. And one of the ways that we engage our audiences on, with this bi-weekly shows, which we started out during the pandemic, and we've continued periodically over the years to stay engaged with our audience. The movement has as a vision for all Cameroonians to take ownership and action for the nation. For all Cameroonians to take ownership and action for the nation. That's deep, and I hope that it sinks in and it really helps people reflect. Our mission, we do this. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and engage Cameroonians to assume and accept responsibility for the future of our country. This vision and mission is what has guided our activities over the years and will continue to guide our activities. As we have these conversations, many people have asked the question about how they can get involved. So for a moment, I'm going to ask the President, Bambot, to really talk to people here about how people can get involved. So I'll invite Bambot Wana to share, who's the president of the movement, to share his perspective on how people can get involved. Bambot.
All right, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you may be. And thank you for joining this session today. Basically, if you feel like you owe yourselves the duty to do something for the country, to grow the country, all you got to do is just to go to the I Am Cameroon website and just pledge your commitment to be part of us by clicking on that link and become a member. You can become a member either from the diaspora or from anywhere you are. Just click on that link and just be involved. Don't be too cynical about what the naysayers about what's happening in the country. There's a lot of good things happening out there, and we can only progress, we can only advance if we get involved. And I Am Cameroon gives you that that vehicle to become involved. So please just visit iamcameroon.org and look for the search for the Get Involved, become a member button, click on that button and become a member. And call your friends, call your family members, your neighbors, everybody. Let's build this organization together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bambot, for that. We encourage everybody to join us. The more, the merrier. Many hands do lighter work, so get involved. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to the host of the event, who's going to take it from here and introduce or welcome our guest. Join me in welcoming Sally Elot.
Hi. Wait. Oh, I found the unmute button. Okay, good. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Wait a while.
Happy Saturday.
Tata Ivan said we'll be here.
So before we start this beautiful
Because I
conversation
had to be at sea like everybody
today, I would like to ask everyone to put themselves on mute. Please mute yourselves. Mute yourself if you're not talking, please. Can our host mute some of the guests? Thank you. Awesome. I love technology. Good morning, everybody. Ooh, welcome. It's wonderful to be back with you guys again. It feels like we just had our last conversation yesterday. How awesome was that? It was just packed with germs and just wonderful information. We received two amazing guests who are doing wonderful things for the country and the community. So you need to go back and check that out. Don't go right now. Stay put. Don't go right now. You can go after this show and then you go check out what we did for our last session. Oh, wait. But you know what? We still have videos of everything that we've done so far on our website and on our Facebook page as well. We've been able to talk to amazing guests that are coming up with innovative solutions for some of the things troubling the Cameroonian population. But we're going to move away from that. Today, we are welcoming two very, I'll say, forward-thinking Cameroonians. They are visionaries, okay? Today, we're going to talk to a teacher who, like we all know, teachers are servant leaders, okay? Teachers, your kids spend half of the day with a teacher. So the ethics and the morals of a teacher is very important, and we need them to build the society. And we're also going to be talking to an architect who decided to leave Europe and go back home and see how he can create opportunities on the ground. So join me to welcome two of our hosts today, Marie Claire and Foster's. And Foster's, please correct me if I'm not saying your name right. Is it, can I call you Foster's or Faustinus?
Faustinus.
Thank you very much. That's what I thought. I had to make sure. That's what I thought. It's like, wait, I need to check and make sure I am not butchering that. My apologies. Thank you guys so much for joining the show today. So let's start with lady, of course. Marie Claire, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure, actually.
Beautiful. So,
Very happy being on the show.
Oh, wonderful. Love to have you here with us. I know that it is slightly late in the evening in Cameroon, so I do appreciate your time being on the show. Wonderful. All right. So
Sure.
we're going to give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourself formally to our audience this morning, okay? And just let them know your background and just share some of your passion for Cameroon beyond your profession. So ladies first. Marie Claire? Okay, so we're going to move on to Faustinus. I think we're having some technical problems with Marie Claire. So same question to you, Faustinus. Can you please share your background and your passion for Cameroon aside your profession as well?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having invited me onto the show. Is the audio being heard?
10 on 10, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so I'm saying I thank the organizers, I thank the president and all the hosts for having invited me. It's an honor. I am Jockey Faustinus, an architect. I studied in University of Venice, Italy. I graduated in 1994 and decided to come back to Cameroon. It was my wish from the very day I was leaving Cameroon to go abroad, as many of our generation mates had the intention to go and come back. The constraints of the economic crisis came in as an unpredictable factor that has made many of our generation mates stay abroad against their wish. But when I was going, I knew I had to come back. And even from the first days I went to university, I tried to go out of the rails, not like refusing to study the conventional architecture, but contextualizing it, putting an accent on what was relevant to the society from which I was coming. So I was studying, I had all my exams according to what the professors would have wished, but I went out of my curriculum to study and try to master issues that were more relevant to our society, because technology is developed by the person who needs it and for their own good. You who come to copy, if you photocopy and go till it's not appropriate to your own environment, then it's a bit of your problem. So that's why even from day one, when I went to Europe, I had to try to contextualize the technologies. And when I finished, the environment in Cameroon was not all that green, but I had decided. I had a period of about 4 years where I was a bit undecided, but I was still working on coming back. So 4 years after I finished my studies, I did turning around. But when I was turning around, I was scouting all the opportunities that I can use to come back and be of use to my society, because the passions is not just money. You make money. Money is always good because you cannot put food on the table. You cannot think straight. So I was at the same time thinking of how I can put food on the table and how I can be useful, because my prime, like motivation is doing things that are impactful, things that are useful to the society. Money alone doesn't give me provisional satisfaction, doesn't give me all the rewards that I wish to have.
Right.
So those are the two things. Trying to figure out how to come and make a living and also to be useful. In Italy, we have 300,000 architects, good architects in Italy. In Cameroon, we have barely 500 architects. So the ratio of architects in Italy and here, it's an astronomical gap. So the impact me as an architect I can bring to the community in Cameroon, it's unmeasurable. With respect to staying in Italy and having to be like a nobody in architecture. Not really nobody in class. I was not the first. I was not the last in any case. But but my impact in Italy as an architect would have gone unnoticed. Whereas here in Cameroon, I've worked for getting close to 30 years now, and all the things I've done, and when I look behind, if I've not made much money out of it, but the satisfaction, professional satisfaction I've had in impacting society and helping society evolve has been immense.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Faustinus. You know, while you were talking, I couldn't help myself but think, you know what? I'm glad that you're out here on this platform today, telling your side of the story, telling your story of how you were passionate and your motivation to take your talent back home to develop your country, Cameroon, to add to the population and to help solve a problem. You saw a need, you saw a gap, and you decided to fill it. And the whole time I'm thinking, I hope there are as many young people watching this show, because the majority of people, I know the way things are going right now, the way things are looking, the majority of people are thinking going out there is the best and not coming back is even better, right? But if we can all follow this blueprint of coming out here, collecting this information, collecting these resources, and going back home and investing all of these things, I think we're gonna be okay. So thank you, Faustinus. Marie Claire, I'm gonna share the same question with you. So can you kindly share your background with us and also share your passion for Cameroon, you know, beyond your profession? I know that teachers are the backbone of the society, but what is your passion for your country beyond serving as a teacher?
Okay, thank you very much. So I am Marie-Claire Gambo. I'm from the northwest region of Cameroon, precisely Boyo Division, a proud servant leader. I am a holder of a degree in sociology. So as a youth, I think I really love my country though. I've been able to pass through the hustles and struggles of life, and they have actually taught me a lot.
I
So
feel
in
you.
2021, I came across the organization CLI.
Mhm. Right when it was getting good, we lost we lost Marie Claire right when it was getting good. Well, please hang in there. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Faustinus and Marie Claire, two very patriotic Cameroonians who are doing wonderful
Perspective.
things. Oh, there she is. Welcome back, Marie Claire. We lost you there for a bit, so we didn't quite hear anything you said after you found out you found an organization. So I think that's where we you got disconnected.
Yes, I'm really sorry for technical issues.
Oh no, we understand the connection is not um the best out there.
So Sea Life made me see life in a different perspective.
Mhm.
So I became this motivated youth with high dreams, eager to learn, discover, leave my own footsteps.
Right.
So beyond just wanting to travel abroad and see how beautiful it is, I would love to contribute to the development of my own country, to see Cameroon to become that beautiful country that everyone is eager to go to. Because if they did it, then we too can do it. We are the
Amen to that.
building blocks of this country, the
Yes.
youth, not the aging population. So with the experience I've gathered, I think as a youth, I can really make it here home. Now, Cameroon is really rich. There are a lot of resources I can utilize to make it here at home. So why not? Thank you.
Thanks, Marie Claire. I love how you said the youths are the future. Because we are indeed. But then in Cameroon, we will have to decide or define who is a youth, right? So, if you're just joining us, welcome. We're only a few minutes into the show, but for our panelists and our guests, the chat is open. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. And for our panelists, please feel free to interrupt me anytime. If you have a question, just cut in and ask your questions to our guests. So I'm gonna stay with you, Marie Claire. Now that the technology gods of Cameroon are on our side. What are your aspirations of the Cameroonian youth today? Because I love how you said that the youth are the future. That is something that has been drilled into every person, especially from where we come from, right? We know that we're carrying the weight of the future of our society on our shoulders. So, what are your aspirations, you know, for the Cameroonian youth today? Did we lose her again? Oh man. Ah, I want to apologize again, you guys. The connection is usually very shaky sometimes when we get to talk to our guests back home, but we're just gonna stay with Faustinus. Faustinus, you have an interesting story, and I'd like us to really focus on your return to Cameroon because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of faith because you're going back, you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know how things are going to look out. You don't know how things are going to turn out, excuse me. So, what was your motivation to return home? That's Cameroon after studying in Italy. Did you did you have any hesitations? How did you overcome those second thoughts or those hesitations to go back home?
Yeah, thank you once more. It was a long process. It was not finishing studies and then deciding to come back. As I said, from the day I stepped my foot in Europe, I had a program to come back. And
Yeah.
one of the things I did, every 24 months, from all the time I was in Europe, I made sure I came back home and stayed for 1 or 2 months. So I didn't really lose contact with the realities as such. I'll come and measure the temperature. And when I came back, I did not come during the festive periods in which everybody has his beer and wine to drink and merry make. I will come
Yeah.
maybe in March, stay for 1 month. So I actually measured the real temperature of Cameroon for all the time I was abroad. So I left, it was not as if I cut off altogether. So I knew what was happening, what could obtain, what could happen, what could not happen. Because, as I said, I didn't finish studies before deciding to come back. Even when I finished, things got a bit worse than when I was studying. But I'd already saw a bit of done like a feasibility of how I could come back. And one of the things was to come and lead a very low profile. If you imagine that I came back from Europe, I was living in a room in my uncle's boys' quarters for 1 year. In order not to come, I had a bit of means. I had not to have a Mercedes car. I had to sell it just to live a low profile. And then you walk and you see how the things function and how to set up myself. And not to come like some people, unfortunately, when they come from abroad, they come as if they know everything, they're all knowing, and they're sitting on the horse, and the people back home are just numbskulls, and you are talking to them like they're sitting on a horse. So being able to integrate softly in the society is not as if you are too humble, but even if I come like the bricklayers or the carpenters, because I did all of those things practically in Europe. During my holidays, I go and do bricklaying and carpentry. So
No
to be able to,
way. You rolled your sleeves and went to what we call chantier? That's
yes,
amazing.
yes, because now one of the things that are making me some sort of having like a life jacket is that I
Yeah.
own a carpentry workshop, a metal workshop, a bricklaying workshop, such that if I don't have big projects or big contracts, I have some minimum income guaranteed from fabricating doors, fabricating metal protectors, fabricating windows. So it's a question of survivor having the security. Then I now look at greater things. I do big projects. I do multi-billion projects, design and follow and control, but they come once in a while. I can stay out maybe 1 or 2 years without having those big projects. But to put food on the table on a daily basis, I had to have that guarantee, the backup, which is the fact that I have workshops that generate that minimum income so that I can stay afloat before trying to
Right.
fly. At least I have to guarantee that my nostrils are always above water.
Now that's a really smart plan. And you are being very strategic because you're absolutely right when you say that a lot of people from abroad only visit during the festive periods. We only go down during the holidays. We're stuffing our faces with food and drinks, and sometimes we do see things that needs to be changed or things that needs to be done, but we don't really take time to measure the temperature of what's happening around us. And I think it was very, very smart of you to go down every time during the off season, because March is clearly an off season. So yeah. And let me check the questions. Okay, we don't have
Yeah.
any questions yet. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Ari.
Well, I was going to say, unfortunately, we don't have Marie Claire, so we're going to keep following up with Faustinus. And Faustinus, this is a question that I've always wanted to ask every time because I've been, like you, I've tried to. I can't believe I've lived out of Cameroon for a while. 20 years now. But I've tried to always stay connected with Cameroon to know what is going on and understand how I can continue to play a role. When we think about architecture and we think about Cameroon, I did work once with malaria, and to think about how architects can play a role in solving some of the challenges that we face in Cameroon. One of them, malaria, for example. Another one is, we did this big project to clean up Cameroon, right? How can, from your perspective of an architect and being in Cameroon and looking at just how people have been building and all of that, how are you and other architects trying to influence the way people build in Cameroon? That's just something that I've always had on my mind. And now that I have an architect, maybe I should ask that question. How do you see yourself playing a role in the development of Cameroon? And then when Marie Claire comes, I see she's in. I really want to get that youth perspective of where they see the future of the country going. And there was a reason why we brought two of you on, because you're different generation, different perspective, and yet we are a country where we have to take all of this into consideration as we build forward. So I just really just wanted to understand how you, as an architect, you're influencing the progress in Cameroon with your work.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, it permits me to come back on a topic, on an issue that I had to manage it with. It was a malaria control structure. I cannot remember. It's more than 10 years ago. They contacted me for us to do a project, and they said the issue with malaria is simple. There are mosquitoes that have access into houses. When they go into those poor houses, the thing is porous. Mosquitoes can penetrate from under the roof, through the spaces of the doors and all the rest. So they say we should see how to do projects cheap, because I studied low-cost construction, and I actually developed some techniques and some machines that I conceived and constructed for low-cost construction. I even have a UN award for that, the machine I produced. And the idea was, let even the poor, they have houses that are some sort of mosquito free, in the sense that you lock your door or your window, or you build the house in such a way that it should be hermetic against mosquito proliferation. Concerning the cleanliness of the environment, like stagnant swamps and all the rest, that goes to a higher level of urban development. But that link that you are asking between architecture and malaria, it's not very evident at first sight, but it exists. And I have worked on a project where they say if you build correctly, you are going to protect the citizens, even the poorest citizens, from the main vector of malaria, which is the Anopheles mosquito. So the link, thank you for bringing that up. It's an opportunity to indicate the level at which we have been working in order to safeguard the health of the people. It's a big scandal that is, mosquitoes, malaria is the highest killer in Africa. And we Africans are there. We don't see it as a priority. There are countries like, I think, Greece or they eliminated malaria vectors. They took about a 10-year project and eliminated it. Whereas for us here, we are still dying of malaria, whereas we should have invested technologically and also otherwise to eliminate malaria, which they still say today kills even more than AIDS. Those statistics, well, maybe somebody has a better place to analyze and really tell us how true they are.
Right. I was just gonna quickly say that I would have never made the connection between the need to curb the spread of malaria and architecture. Just gonna throw it out there. I would have never made that connection in 100 years.
Well, I would say that probably the organization that you worked with was the UN Foundation's program, Nothing But Nets, because I was very involved and constantly raised this conversation, whether it's in New York or even in Cameroon, about investing in the design of houses as a way to prevent mosquitoes. So I may have been responsible for that project because that was approximately 10 years ago. Well, but that is again, every profession has a role to play, a broader role to play in development besides earning a living, right? Besides, all of us are all part of the development of Cameroon. So thank you for being involved and for the award that you received from the UN for your work. I think now maybe we can turn over. I hope Marie Claire's connection now works. I'll turn it back to you, Sally. Yeah.
Hi, Marie Claire. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome.
I can. All right.
Wonderful. All right. So before we got interrupted by the connection, you were going to um talk about what are your aspirations for the Cameroonian youth today? What are your aspirations of you?
My aspirations for Cameroon youth. Well, I want to see Cameroon youths developing their full potentials. We have been used to this alienation, just doing what we see. We want to survive. It's do what we see. We are not used to creating. So I would love to see Cameroon youth being passionate about creating new things. If you can't, if you don't see what you want, then be the change you want to see. So we have to be innovative, bring the change we want to see in our nation. Now, lots of times we admire those who are outside there, but they all started from somewhere, right? So if they could were able to, of course, we too can do it. And then as personally, we also want to be accompanied. One thing with the youths, we want to be accompanied to really feel like there is someone there, like there are people there that are supporting our vision, because most times they feel discouraged by challenges they face. Whereas if we have people like mentors or this education from a very tender age, tender level.
Yeah.
We have been taught from the school education system, you see, they're teaching us to practice, we assimilate, reproduce what you have been taught. You're not being created, we have not been taught to innovate. That's why the education system, you see that we reach university before we start, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? That's one reason why I even encourage technical education, because they train the child from a basic age to know how to make use of his skills, of his hands to create something. I really admire the parents who send their children to the technical section, because you see, when they finish, they're way better than us here that did not go to technical section. Though now most parents want to send their children to this general education where we read, reproduce, and we write to pass. We fail to understand that to succeed in life, you need to fail. We have been taught that failing is not an option. So that's why at some point in my life, when I was failing, I felt depressed. So I needed a turnaround.
Right.
Our aspirations, what I want to see is developing our full potential, seeing life in a different way. I'm sure, I know that's going to change a lot of things in our country.
I completely agree. So if I'm hearing you correctly, Marie Claire, you are
Are
advocating.
you there?
I'm here. I can hear you. So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're advocating for more vocational training and more practical education to be set in place to better prepare the youth, um, to face society or to be able to create a path for themselves. There's a former saying that goes, if you don't see a path, create one, right? And we have Bambots in the comments saying, if you don't see what you want, be the change you see. And from Babe Mase, she says independent thinkers and innovators. Yes, we need more of that. So we do have a little fun exercise that we do on the show. Marie Claire, I'm not sure. Do we lose Marie Claire? There she
No,
is.
she's
We do have some fun exercise that we do on the show, and I would love everyone to participate. Even in the comments, you can also participate in the comment.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask you, it's a this or that question, right? So we're gonna start with a culinary side of it. We all know that Cameroon is our cuisine is very robust. We have one of the best in Africa. Yes, I'm tooting our own horn. So Marie Claire, I want to know where you lean. Ekwang or Eru?
Eru.
Nice. What about you, Faustinus?
It depends. Ekwang is better.
So you're going with Ekwang. I don't want to ask this question to Ari because I know what the answer will be. It's in your name, Ari. So, but I'm still gonna go on the limb here and ask it. What will it be for you? You're on mute.
I would go to Equine.
Okay, now that is strange. We have another. I'm also gonna ask Tabe Mase. Tabe Mase, if you're in the place to join the conversation, I'm gonna ask you real quick. Eru or Ekwang? I mean, it's in the name, but Ari just surprised us. So let's see what's gonna happen.
Oh, I would also go to Ekpang because I cook. It was always in my house, but
Yeah,
Ekpang is me, so I'll go with it.
I love Ekwang too. Bambot, what about you?
Hey, my grandmother is from Bayangilan, so Ekwang all day.
So wait, that means you've had Eru so much that you're
Eru
leaning towards
is
Ekwang.
Oh,
lifetime.
sorry. Eru. Sorry, not Ekwang. Eru.
Honestly, I will plead the fifth with this question because I love these two meals combined, right? But if back against the wall, I would choose Eru. So we're getting some echo. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know where that's coming from, but I think we're
Okay.
good now. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So one more. We're gonna move into sports. One more before we continue with our guests. So Cameroon is known for its amazing footballers. We have produced legends over the decades. We used to be the giant of Africa. Well, we still are. We are the lions of Africa when it comes to football. So there are two household names there are more household names, but these two really made it on the international scene. They exploded on the international scene, right? And they are from two different generations as well. So, Faustinus, are you a football fan? Of course, every Cameroonian is a football fan. So I'm gonna ask you, Roger Milla or Samuel Eto'o?
The two of them are football giants in Cameroon, but the person that left the mark in my life was Roger Milla, because in Italy in 1990, I was there live to see the Lions get to the quarterfinals. The first African team to have done that, thanks to 4 goals that Roger Milla scored. So I saw Roger Milla, the highest emotions I've ever had in football were given by Roger Milla.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Not
Roger
minimizing
was the man.
the gigantic work Eto'o has done. My highest emotions in football were given by Roger Milla.
Yeah. Nice. What about you, Marie Claire? Given that you're of a younger generation, I am curious to know which side you lean.
Samuel Eto'o.
I knew it.
Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
He's I don't know much about their history. I know that he was where he is today. And then he's very daring. He's bringing in the change we want to see somehow. I like his courage, his odds. For me, it's like someone to look up to. So,
Yes.
I'm not saying
he's an independent thinker, like Marcel would say. I think he falls directly under those innovative youth that decided to come back home or stay home and make a change for the community. Completely agree. Marcel, I see you're nodding your head there. All right. So before we continue, we have in the chat. Okay, so Marie Claire Tabemase says you're very inspiring to listen to. And yeah, she's calling for a fit for purpose educational system. I do agree with that 100%. So our next question for our guest today, and anyone can take this, okay? What advice will you give about working and living in Cameroon? There's lots of people watching you, some of who are contemplating on going back home, but they're still on the fence. So what advice will you give about working and living in Cameroon? Kind of like a cheat code. Faustus, your mic is already unmuted, so you can take this.
Okay, can I go ahead?
Of course.
Yeah, the question was, what advice can I give to the youths? I have a difficulty. I have a difficulty in functioning with the Cameroonian youth generation, and they have some sort of been brainwashed to look at life in a certain perspective. So the ideals, this is a question of ideals. When people have their ideals of going to have money and come and ride a big car, those ideals make them wanting to take shortcuts. I do mentorship. I do mentorship for young technicians. There are some who come and they just want to do it fast, have a piece of paper that will permit them to go and have a job in the civil service. I've never dreamt of becoming a civil servant. I even refused to sign the 10-year bond that insisted if I have a scholarship, I have to come and work for the Cameroon government after I finish school. When I was in high school, that already nauseated me, the fact that you impose that I should come and work for the government. To me, being obligated to come and work, since I was a youth, I did not want to stomach that. But now, unfortunately, the highest thing they're thinking, oh, write a concours and go and enter somewhere. So unfortunately, I cannot really give an advice, broad-based advice to the youth, is that there should be a mindset change. We need a very big mindset change. We need a very big reorientation of our education for youth to become job creators and not job seekers. That gap, I'm sorry to say, is going to take a bit of time. To tell a young man that don't go somewhere looking for the possibility of learning something and having a piece of paper, a diploma that will give you a job. And instead, teach somebody that you should become a job creator or a self-employed to the minimum. So those are the difficulties I have. There are, however, a couple of them I've trained. I've trained a couple of guys under my guardians that are embracing it a bit, but I want to say it's not up to 10% of the people that come under me as mentees. Thank you.
Thanks for students. You said something there that I couldn't help but notice. I think I've heard that somewhere. The youths are supposed to create opportunities, create jobs. I've heard that somewhere. That I'm thinking that was the president's in the president's speech. Was it sometime? Was it last year? I believe so. I don't remember which exact speech that was, but yes, we need to create and be the change that we want to see. And that idea of coming back home in a big car, blasting music through the streets, and just running things at the little Cartier bars. Yeah, we need to be able to think bigger than that. I do agree. So to you, Marie Claire, before we tackle that question from your angle, I'd like to ask you first, as a youth, I'm sure you have noticed there has been a mass exodus of the youth from Cameroon. Everybody is wanting to go out. Everybody's wanting to go somewhere, Dubai, Europe, somewhere. Just everybody's leaving. So why have you chosen to stay despite this exodus, by the youth, despite this youth exodus, because they're all gone. The airports are packed with young people. So what's your motivation to stay? Why have you decided to stay and be the change that you want to see?
Okay. I don't know. From the onset, I've never really nurtured this idea of leaving the country, going to live abroad someday to see how it is that way. But I've never really had this zeal. Like many of my classmates left immediately after high school. Till today, it was more of, I think some people desire to leave because of peer. So in fact, I can make my place in this country. It's not because it's all green and rosy there. I can make Cameroon become in fact, even if I cannot change the whole Cameroon.
Okay. We're having challenges again with Marie Claire's connection.
And I've not even, we've never heard about them again. So it has never really been motivation to me.
Okay, Marie Claire, we're having some challenges with your connection, but I think the gist of what one of the reasons why we decided to have Marie Claire on is that, Marie Claire, she mentioned earlier that she was part of Sea Life, right? I have never met Marie Claire. I don't know her, but Sea Life is an organization in the US that goes to Cameroon, identifies young people, and puts them through this leadership program. And the way that I got to know her was that she gave testimony on Facebook and did say thank you to a certain Are Obenson for sponsoring her through that leadership program. And she was basically talking about how transformational it's been and opened her eyes to staying in Cameroon. When we joked over the Roger Miller and Samuel Eto'o question, but it's really important that question in the context of Cameroon, where we have a younger generation that sees. If you ask them that question, they would say Samuel Eto'o. And another generation, myself and Faustino's, where if you ask us the question, we'll say Roger Miller, right? And it's all about the same thing, for love of country, for love of the sports, for love of the game, right? But two varying perspectives. And unless we are able to embrace these varying perspectives, we really cannot build a community, a society. So we, that generation that came before, cannot ignore the perspective of the younger generation. And at the same time, the younger generation cannot ignore the perspective of there is value in merging, bringing together these two perspectives to build the kind of country that we want. So Marika, thank you for being here. Unfortunately, we've had challenges with your connection, but being part of servant leadership means, and being a tutor. When I spoke to you, you said, everybody wants to leave, but somebody has to teach the next generation, and that's why you're passionate about being a teacher to teach other people. Because if we don't have teachers, we don't have a future. And mindful of the things that you've said here, where being practical in education. I hope that whilst you're teaching in the general education setting, you're taking this perspective to the classroom and trying to encourage your students to think differently and to play their part in the development of the country. So those are, unfortunately we have that. But Faustinus, thank you for bringing that perspective. One of the things that I'd like to know is, I know that there's so many people in the diaspora. All of us, our story was to go out and come back to Cameroon. That's still my story, and I'm sticking with it, right? I don't know how I make that happen, but that's still my story. So if you just had a word for all the people in Germany, in Italy, in South Africa, in the United States, in Dubai, who are struggling with this question, to go back home or not to go back home, especially what would be your advice to them, just briefly, and then we can begin to wrap up, if you yeah.
Okay, I think everybody loves to be near where your umbilical cord was buried. There are just the unfortunate situations that force people out. Everybody loves to settle and thrive in his country. But unfortunately, the atmosphere is not very favorable. It's not a one size fits all. There are people who make it better over there. Even in my own personal family, there are my other siblings that are encouraged that I should go but out. And they're making it there. If they were here, don't want to quote, but I have a sister who's a nurse. Here, they were paying maybe 50,000. But when she went and she was a state registered nurse abroad, you know what the take home is, and she can build houses and he can sponsor people, he can help the family. So his usefulness abroad to the development of Cameroon is even more than when she was here in Cameroon. So there's no one
That's
size
an interesting perspective. That's
yes.
yeah.
So I am a technician, and I know that there are things that I can do in Cameroon that will yield me a steady income and a higher income, because we have not up to 1,000 architects in Cameroon. And when they're looking around, scattered around for architects, I can post as an architect. And when I say I'm an architect, they start talking of millions to pay me. But when you come like a nurse, they start talking of they pay you 30,000. So I would be very cautious in saying you thrive here or you thrive there. But me personally, I know that in my own situation, I want to do something that is useful to my community here in Cameroon, but also not forgetting that I have to put food on the table, because we are not the saints, we are not the messiahs to carry the people of Cameroon out of bondage. Everybody has to have his own conscience of giving back to the society, but society should be conducive for you to put food on your table. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Marika, you were saying something? Let me add her here.
Put in the chat.
Oh, she put something in the chat. Yeah, thank you very much, Postinos, for that perspective. That, of course, and to your point, if you are doing something that is practical, that is solving something, providing a solution, you are more likely to thrive in that environment. So the technical space which is there is more room there. So as we think about wanting to go back to Cameroon, you have to be looking at a solution that you are bringing that is going to be of value to people in Cameroon for you to succeed. And Marie Claire, any closing words that you have? I hope that the technology works. No, it's not working. I'll turn this over back to Sally. I see that Tabemase has her hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Faustinus. While you were talking, an idea came to mind. Like when you go to a new job, you get oriented. Even when you're looking for a new job, at least in diaspora, you get to go in that industry and you look at it. What Mr. Faustinus has just indicated is that we need forums where people can be oriented and educated. And then when they get on, those who want to come back, technical people, or what is needed, because we all have these highfalutin dreams in the diaspora, but not really knowing what is needed on the ground. And what Mr. Faustino has just said is so illuminating, that he knows what is needed. He knows the people that he would say, go abroad because you'll be more useful in Cameroon. And those who would say, please come home because you will be very useful here and you'll be able to feed your family. Do not have a Christ complex, right? Because those of us in the diaspora, sometimes we have the Jesus Christ complex. And what Mr. Faustinus has just said is, stop that. Think about how you can make an impact wide and broad. Go ahead, Mr. Faustinus.
Yeah, sorry, there was a small detail. Currently, we are working on setting up an imaging center. The team is made up of friends that we lived in Italy in the yesterdays. Many have stayed abroad. A few of us have come back. So we're teaming up. We have teamed up. Actually, before coming here, I left the construction site where we have to install. They've contributed monies. Those who are abroad working and having the monies, those of us who are here on the ground to be able to manage things, we have teamed up now. So there's the diasporans and the returnees that are teaming up to do something here in Cameroon. They want to give back to the community, but they cannot really physically come and sit here. So we have teamed up. It's a project. We call it a Friends of Italy Investment Group. So there's also that avenue of those who cannot come and operate here, have those who have already returned that they can team up now to do something. So it's a real project that's going on now. We're going to start operating in the next 2 months, 3 months, highest.
Thank you so much, because I also know that the mindset that you decried in the youth, it's not only in the youth, it's also in some of the adults, right? That the fast money, fast things, we all have them in our families, where you try to have a project and that becomes a cash cow of a family member. So I would love to hear more about these projects where returnees who have a certain work ethics, do go back, and then we can team up and know exactly the expectations are clear and are communicated, because we've all learned how to communicate clearly, and knowing where the other person is coming from. And that way you're able to team up, as you said, and see a project to fruition. Some of us have not been able to do big things, les grands choses, right? Because we just do not have, and because we tend to be family oriented, we just do not have the family members with the mindset to see that project through. So I thank you. This has been very illuminating.
Back to you, Sally. I think we have. I think we've touched on. This has been a great session. I want to thank Faustinos and Marie Claire for joining us, for being in this session. Sally, any closing thoughts?
I would just like to shine more light in the comments. We're getting some interesting takes in the comments from our audience. Tabetakan says a common theme from both invitees is a deep love for country and it requires a certain mindset. It's really refreshing. I couldn't agree more. And then Clarence says, everyone wants to leave. He's quoting Marie Claire, says everyone wants to leave, but someone has to stay to teach the next generation. Wow, so inspiring, Marie Claire. Yes. And Bambot says, interesting twist on to view going abroad or staying back home. Uh, we have another comment saying, great show. DK says, congrats both and great discussion. Thanks, everyone. But I'd like to point out that it's not enough for us to have amazing conversations. Please visit the I Am Cameroon website, www.iamcameroon.org. See what we're about, see how you can join the movement, see how you can contribute. You can register to become a member. I believe registration for members in Cameroon is very easy to do. You can also go to our Facebook page, follow on our activities. We will always post our shows a couple of days before, so you can plan to join on your cell phone or at home on your PC. And also you can donate to some of our movement. Our last major project was a support fund to some women who lost their businesses in the Bamenda Market fire. I Am Cameroon was able to mobilize and provide some checks for them so they can at least have a startup. They can have a leg up, to continue putting food on the table of their family. So that's just one of the things that I Am Cameroon do, aside shining light on the importance of us going back home and doing all of these amazing projects to help out. So thanks everyone for joining. We are 4 minutes over, but this was such an inspiring conversation. Tabe Mase, always love your take. And thank you so much to Ari Faustinus and Marie Claire and Bambot. We're not going to forget our tech whiz behind the scene, Pedro. Thanks, Pedro, for making this happen. We appreciate you, and we will see you all in the next one. Ari, were you gonna chime in there, or is Bambot coming in?
Yep, I would just say, I think you said it all. Thank everybody for being here. 2 weeks from now, we will be back again. This is a conversation that we must continue. This month, we celebrated the young people of Cameroon. It was really good to get this two perspectives. And as we look forward, we learned a lot. Last weekend in our planning conversations about the future of Cameroon, we spoke about education. And it was really good to hear this perspective from a young person. We were going down the right path because we were saying our education cannot just be memorizing. We have to transform the education in such a way that it helps the young people be solution providers, to be creative. So if that brainstorm, if we had any doubts about that brainstorm, Marie Claire, your conversation here reassured us. And I think, Faustinus, your conversations, your comments to actually strengthen our conviction that if we have technical solutions to all the complex challenges that we face, the question of malaria and how architects can be part of the solution, and everything around us in Cameroon that's a challenge could actually be an opportunity. So this has been an inspiring hour this weekend, and we'll carry it forward to 2 weeks from now. If you know somebody that has an amazing story to share, go share, reach out to us, and we'll bring that person to share their perspective so that we can continue to inspire and educate as well as engage Cameroonians to accept and assume responsibility for the future of Cameroon. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and thank you, Sally, for being our host.